I'm Jacob at the Edwardsville Public Library, joined once again by Amanda. She's waving. So we had meant, I think, to do this a little while ago, but March has been busy with us. I don't know if you tuned in and saw our conversation with Wen Tan Kuei Mai, author of The Mountain Sing. We're here for another live video. This is our Talking Aloud series. We're talking about some books that are aimed in the interest of representing women, female authors for Women's History Month. And we have something that sounds really cool to me that I have not read, and I'm just going to have Amanda just dump some of her knowledge and expertise on this series and her expertise on science fiction with the, for lack of a better overall term, we'll just call it the Murderbot series. There was a series of novellas.
Murderbot Diaries.
Murderbot Diaries.
Yeah.
By Martha Wells. And I guess this is also a little appropriate. It was just recently nominated for a Nebula Award. I think those were announced last week, maybe the week before. So Murderbot Diaries, just give me a rundown of what all is published under Murderbot Diaries, and then we can talk from there.
I have them right here. Let's see if I can do this without dropping them. So right now it's 4 novellas and a novel. All Systems Red is the first novella, and then I'm pretty sure you can figure it out from there. The novel is called Network Effect. And then there's another novel coming out that's kind of a prequel in April. And I can't remember the name of that one.
Hold Network Effect all the way to the frame. Just hold the whole thing up. So this is like the newer novel that has been in demand. I don't know if there's outstanding holds for it, but you can contact us to place a request. But you are not the only one that's talked about Murderbot. I know another staff member, Catherine, is also very enthusiastic. So just tell me, it doesn't have to be an elevator pitch, it can be a very long elevator pitch. But what's so cool about the novellas? What kept you going through those novellas?
I'm a diehard science fiction reader, but I'm also a romance reader. And there's no romance in these, but it's super good science fiction, right? Like it has the technical details and the adventure and all of that, but it also has this super social connection aspects that satisfies the romance reader in me. It's very, very character driven, which is not always the case for really hard sci-fi. And the character that you're most engaged in is the main character, who calls itself Murderbot. So Murderbot's they call it a construct, right? It's part organic, part robotic material. And AI obviously has this just super sarcastic, anxiety-driven, hilarious inner voice. It's all first person from Murderbot's point of view. And just this is one of the most identifiable characters. You just identify with it so hard. Basically, the premise is that it's owned by a company, and they have this thing called the governor module that makes it follow the rules, right? So it follows the rules one day to disaster, so it hacks its governor module so that it's independent all of a sudden. It's called Rogue. And after that, all it wants to do is ignore everyone. It continues to work for the company, and hides the fact that it's gone rogue, but it really just wants to watch Netflix all the time. It's called media, right? So it lives on the internet. It wants to not interact with humans, because generally humans have treated it like nonsense, like an item or a tool. And yeah, it's just super it has no idea how to interact with humans once it's hacked this module, and it's nervous about it. It thinks humans are stupid. It kind of hates everybody around it, but at the same time, it has this compulsive need for social connection, which is just fascinating. Yeah, very, without being human, very character driven, awesome stories.
So within the, before you get to Network Effect, within the novellas, is there some kind of arc with Murderbot, or is there kind of an episodic feeling within each novella?
Both. I think that's a really cool parallel, because Murderbot just wants to watch its soaps, basically. It just wants to watch the serials, and the novella is kind of art soaps, episodic like that. But yeah, there's definitely an arc. You start to Murderbot starts to explore the company it's called, and like it's some of its dirty deeds, and there's a whole lot of like good science fiction, right? Touches on socio-political points, and there are so many things that are hit on in these books without like being hammered over the head. But like one of the big one is capitalism, and how a society that's driven by capitalism can be negatively impactful to its members, right? So the journey is kind of Murderbot exploring how to be a social being, but then also like how this is capitalistic society, how to interact with that, basically.
Without giving any major spoiler away, is Murderbot like a fun cutesy name, or are there actual murders happening by?
So everybody else calls it Sec Unit because it's a security unit, right? It calls itself Murderbot because the incident that made it hack its governor module, it doesn't super remember, but it murdered a ton of people out of its own control. So it has like, yeah, just like massacred a whole bunch of people. So part of the storyline is it exploring that too, and trying to figure out what really happened in that instance. Like the second novella is really based on that.
So the security unit was the Murderbot itself equipped with like guns and stuff that other. So this is a real like Iron Giant, just for the movie. Because someone who can't read and I just watch movies all the time. Iron Giant is Cold War allegory, or set during the Cold War. Then you have a robot that's equipped with all these weapons, and it doesn't realize that it's trying to fight the need to want to make a human connection, and the need to just fulfill your role as this thing with guns. It's made to protect something or kill something.
Yeah, that's kind of one of the great parallels, right? Is like it's this anxious, worrying, just wants a hide machine that could like literally murder it's a killing machine, straight up. Like one of the most terrifying things in existence that literally just wants to not talk to you and watch TV, basically. It's great. And sarcastic, so sarcastic and funny. It's great.
Yeah, this Murderbot sounds interesting. Would you equate it with any existing and not androids, just other robots in pop culture? Like, is anything like Johnny Five and Short Circuit, or is anything like it's its own thing?
I think it's like that's one of the reasons that I liked it so much, because it was like fresh and surprising. Like I don't know, because I'd never read another character like it, right? I at first, when I went into it, I was drawing parallels between Anne McCaffrey has a series of books called, like, it starts with The Ship Who Sang, and it's like disabled humans whose bodies don't function but who have mental levels get turned into machinery, basically, like they're the AI for spaceships and all that kind of stuff. And so I was making a lot of parallels between that, but it's kind of completely different because Murderbot is like completely AI. Like there's an organic material, but there is no human in it. It's a created consciousness, basically, which is fascinating. It like dives into like what is consciousness and personality and all that too.
Yeah. So once we go from the novellas to Network Effect, how does Network Effect differ from the novellas, or just more of what you already like?
There's more, right? It goes a little bit deeper into I want to say some of the therapy aspects. It's kind of hard to explain why without like giving away too much, but like it goes a little bit deeper into motivations. The novellas are like short serials where you get like baby arcs, baby story arcs, so where as the novel like really dives into the story, and you get some great development of the character and like motivations and stuff like that.
Is the arc of the novellas, all the novellas in the arc of Network Effect, is this spanning multiple human lifetimes, or is it all kind of he's making connections with single humans that he's communicating
Single
with?
humans. It's a short period of time. The what really sparks the change, where it wants like social connection, is that this one group of humans that I'm not sure humans is the right word, because there's some discussion of like alien, other beings, right? It uses the word humans in the book, but like there's some different beings that it interacts with. But this one group actually treats it like an individual rather than treating it like a tool, and that kind of sparks some of this like like it always wears armor and has a faceplate on, and these circumstances mean that it has to take this faceplate off and like make eye contact, right? And how incredibly awkward that is. But then yeah, it really engages with these humans, and they're basically through most of the story who it's engaging with.
Yeah, I like this genre take. There's a lot of genres, and sometimes I can drop like all of graphic novels into its own genre, which is pretty sloppy. But a lot of these genres started off in a way to kind of just be cool and just be an allegory for different kinds of warfare, different kinds of just basically pulp novels. Whereas this sounds like we're at the point now where we're just creating a neuroses filled just not psychological drama, but just like a very self-discovery kind of internal drama. So I think it's cool that even though it's called Murderbot, it just sounds more akin to, I mean, I hate to drop this name, but Woody Allen, something like that.
There actually, I was reading like right before we did this, just to make sure I was, on top of stuff. But there is a really good article, and I can't remember where it's posted, by a trans woman who read these and like makes a lot of correlations between like Murderbots creating a personality on the fly, creating an individual, and like making all these decisions about who they're going to be when they're not under corporate control, and interacting, with free will and everything. I think that Murderbot there are lots of groups of individuals who identify with this character as some kind of representation, right? Like gender is kind of a big deal in these stories. Murderbot never like picks a gender, and actually, so I read them first, and then I listened to the audiobooks for this just to be brushed up. And when I read them, I like Murderbot in my head had like more feminine attributes, and the audiobook was narrated by a man, and he does a good job. But like that really actually, I was fascinated by how much it skewed my interpretation of things, giving Murderbot like more gender characteristics one way versus another. So I kind of found that fascinating. I don't know why I went on that little tangent, but
yeah, no, I think it's always interesting when I talk about a book with anyone, just figure out, did you listen to it? Did you read it? And it's cool that you read it. And then, so you do like the audio version for this?
I like it. I'm glad that I read it first, because I think that, obviously I was projecting my own gender onto the character and like projecting my own self, but I think that's part of why I connected with the character so much. So I would recommend either, but I thought that reading it first was probably the best choice. Should we talk about where it's available on our digital resources?
Yes, let me hear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So ebook, it's available on Overdrive and Cloud Library, and the audio version of the novellas is on Hoopla, but the audio version of the novel is not available anywhere yet.
Okay, and
I feel like that'll change when the second novel gets published.
Yeah, so anyone that's unaware with Hoopla, you can get that right now. Everyone get it once. With libby/overdrive and Cloud Library, you have to wait in line for a copy to be available, just like a library book. Well, that's cool. So, yeah. Any other? I don't know. Does this seem like something that would be made into like a TV show in the near future? Is it gotten that much attention yet?
Because something that's great is just like how you feel like you're inside Murderbot's mind, and I don't know how that would translate to the screen very well.
I think I need to read it and find out, see whether I agree with you or not. And anyone that's tuning in, I don't know that we don't have any questions from any commenters or anything, but if you're interested, Amanda gave us the details on where to find this. So let's give me the rundown one more time. Cloud Library and Overdrive is where you can find
the ebook.
The ebook for the novella.
All 5 of them, yeah.
Network Effect, and then the audiobook of the Network of the novellas is on Hoopla.
Yep, exactly.
Cool. Well, I'll probably check out the Hoopla novellas. Maybe I don't know if I'll read it or do the audio first.
The narrator's good, so I wouldn't. He was good. He got the tone just right of like the sarcasm and even the serious like action parts. He was good at. So
yeah, this sounds like something I would be into. I kind of dabble in sci-fi, and it sounds just like the right kind of thing that can, there's more than just aliens fighting humans. This is a
Yeah.
self-discovery, social anxieties, all kinds of other human traits that I can identify with.
I think that this whole series is definitely a good like gateway to science fiction. I would
Cool.
introduce it to someone who is, like, I want to try this, but
Yeah. And they're not too long either. From what I can tell, Network Effect itself, maybe 300 top pages. The other ones are novellas. So
yeah, they're like 150 pages.
I'm also on board for that because science fiction books can be insanely huge. And I have a short attention span and I'm not a quick reader.
350 exactly.
Great. That's the
Wow.
perfect.
So Martha Wells, right? I think this is her only foray into science fiction. But she has a whole bunch of fantasy out there too, which I've not read yet, but apparently is really good. So just throwing that out there.
Okay. You can check that out on our catalog. I'm sure they're in there somewhere. Edwardsvillelibrary.org. Okay, Amanda, thanks for joining me again on Talking Aloud, and then we'll try to do this again sooner.
Cool.
I don't know last
Thanks
time
for
we did
having
this,
me.
but yeah, thanks for coming on. All right.
All right.
Well, take care. All right. Bye, everybody.